said they played harder than you in the third quarter. That's what they do. They play harder than their opponent. How are you guys unprepared for that?
And we were prepared. We played harder than them in the first half, and then they outplayed us for one quarter. So we were prepared for it. We had the right mindset heading into the game. No, we had the right mindset heading into the game. We played harder than they did, and we were prepared, and we did a great job.
The third quarter made all the difference, right?
It did, but we were prepared, and then we let go of the rope. And so there's two storylines here. It's one, we were ready to play, and we had a great job executing on both ends of the floor in the first half, and it's about the consistency of they're going to continue to play. And so we have to be prepared for when we do outplay them, that they're going to respond and we have to respond. And so we were prepared. We just let go of the rope.
How does this feel to you guys, what you have done so far? And if you go back all the way to that night against Chicago in the play-in, did you think then that something like this would be possible?
Damn right. I did. Damn right we did. And the best part about it is we still don't care what none of y'all think, honestly speaking. We don't care if you pick us to win. We never have. We never will. We know the group of guys we have in his locker room. We know that Coach Spo puts so much confidence and belief in each and every one of us, Coach Pat as well. And so our circle's small, but this circle got so much love for one another. We pump constant confidence into everybody. And we go out there and we hoop. We play basketball the right way, knowing that we always got a chance.
All right. Welcome to Brother from Another. I'm excited to be here. We got Reeta Hubbard here, the NFL chick in the house, who can talk about the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, whatever you got. It's on the table. Reeta Hubbard can go there. And so, Reeta, this may be too early, but what the hell else do we have to do? What else do we have to do on a Thursday afternoon except get ahead of ourselves? So I'm going to get ahead of myself a little bit and ask you this question. Now think about it. I'm putting you on the spot. Think about it. We're gonna figure it out in real time. We're gonna talk it out.
Okay.
What's the worst team you've ever seen win a championship? I mean, like, you still look at it. Any sport where you still look at it and say, I can't believe they won that thing. Like for me, I'll just tell you, like, for a couple examples. If I go back to Tom Brady's first championship, Patriots 14-point underdogs, I'm like, okay, yeah, at the time, but now I look and I'm like, I didn't know Tom Brady was Tom Brady. So you had Tom Brady, you had Richard Seymour, you had Willie McGinnis, you had some really good players on that team. So, yeah, you had a Hall of Fame kicker and Adam Vinatieri, the guy who made the kick, is going to the Hall of Fame. But I'm talking about a team where they win a championship 5 years later, 10 years later, you're like, damn, that team won a championship. You got anybody like that?
I sometimes, and I know that you're going to think I'm crazy here, but I sometimes still do not understand how the 2000 Ravens won the Super Bowl. I understand that they historically were the best defense we've ever seen. But when you go 5 consecutive games without scoring a touchdown, I think that's pretty disgusting. It's unbelievable. Yes, you have a guy Matt Stover at the time who, we called him Automatic Matt. But ultimately, and by the way, they switched quarterbacks in that season. So there was no consistency really at quarterback in that regard. I think about that a lot. I understand that people are going to argue with me about it, but from an offensive perspective, they were pretty terrible. And so I'm just always amazed about how they got carried the way that they did.
No, that's a good one because, we know it was a historic defense. Great, and Ray Lewis was the Super Bowl MVP, not because he played so unbelievably well in the Super Bowl, but it was just like, you're the representative of the defense. We're going to acknowledge you. But you're right. Was it Tony Banks and Trent Dilfer at quarterback?
Yes, started. Yep.
Like, who was their number one offensive weapon?
Shannon Sharp.
Was it Shannon?
Ironically.
It was Shannon.
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, it was Shannon.
And Jamal Lewis,
yeah.
right?
Jamal Lewis.
He was a rookie, so we really didn't know what to expect from Jamal Lewis. Oh, yeah, by the way, they had drafted Travis Taylor, who didn't do anything.
10th overall, right? Wasn't he like the number 10?
For that matter. So, it was an interesting group, to say the least.
And, and why are we having this conversation today? And you know, feel free, if you have yours, if you have somebody in mind, feel free, be in conversation with us. Check us out all on our social media, Holley and Smith, whether you're on Twitter or Instagram or, you know, checking out on YouTube, put it in the comments. Yeah, we read the comments. We kind of dabble in the comments. So we're talking about it because I look at the Miami Heat and I understand what Jimmy Butler III is saying there. We don't care what y'all think. Well, you may not care what we think, but you know what we think, because if you didn't know what we thought, you wouldn't have brought up we don't care what you think. You know we think. Like, can I represent the people? Let me take this case. I will represent the people who be like, what the hell? What the hell are the Miami Heat doing here? They lost their playing game they were supposed to win against Atlanta. They lose. Atlanta grabs a 7 seed from them. They're trailing the Chicago Bulls in their second play-in game before they get going, and they win that one. They knock off the Milwaukee Bucks in round 1. I didn't see that one coming. Sorry, Ashley Nicole Moss. They knocked off the Knicks in round 2. I saw that one coming. I did see that one. Sorry, Ashley. I just can't help it. I can't help teasing Ashley. But then last night, game 1, they're 8-point dogs, Reeta, in Boston. And they're trailing at halftime. It looks like the Celtics are just going to, you know, bag this game 1 victory and think about continuing to protect home court in game 2. And then the 46-point third quarter happened. Then Jimmy Butler happened, and Max Strus happened, and Joe Mazzulla. Use a timeout, bruh. Joe Mazzulla doesn't use his timeouts. That happens, and they win. So, hey, why not? This gonna keep going. Is it, Reeta? Is this thing just gonna keep going?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, right? I know we talk. This is a basketball conversation, and I'm going to get back to that. But I have another parallel that I'd like to use. Jimmy Butler reminds me of January Joe, aka Joe Flacco. He might not do anything for you in the regular season, but when it's time for the playoffs and the lights get brighter, he steps up. I mean, he becomes Jimmy Butler, H-I-M, capital H, capital I, capital M, E Butler, when the playoffs come. And it's just something about the playoffs for him that clicks. I don't know what it is. Obviously, you mentioned the play-in where they didn't win the 7th seed, but essentially, you know, they've had some breaks. I think that we have to acknowledge the fact that, you know, Giannis missed a couple of games due to injury, so that obviously helped, but Giannis also did play 2 games and they only won 1. And so that's, you know, you have to give the Miami Heat credit. This team just overachieves, man. Like every time you think that there's something that's going to stop them and nothing does. And I really feel like the biggest difference between them and everybody else is that they're consistently who they are on the court for all the minutes. We can see the teams that are better than them from a roster perspective, better than them that we think from a coaching perspective, but we've seen ebbs and flows from those teams in terms of the Milwaukee Bucks. We've seen ebbs and flows of the Boston Celtics pretty much this whole postseason. And I think that it's fair for us to acknowledge, you know, Boston should be beating them easily. They don't have Tyler Hero, obviously, another one of their starters. And yet somehow, some way, they're finding ways to win these games. And I believe it's because of the consistency. They're not going up and down. They're not having ebbs and flows. They're playing at the same level from start to finish. And that's why we're seeing them win these games. Now, obviously, I thought that the Celtics would probably win in like 6, because I definitely think that the Heat deserves some type of respect in terms of winning games.
Right.
I might be changing my mind, Holley, because I don't
Oh,
know.
I like it. I like it. You guys.
I mean, you know, my thing is that you can't listen. When it's somebody's time, it's somebody's time. If they're going to be the consistent group, why not them? I think that that's the question we have to ask. Why not them? We've seen Boston do this. They continually do this. And you can't do this against the Miami Heat team who knows that their backs are against the wall, who knows that everybody is picking against them. And I'm with you. Jimmy Butler, look, you heard us. And all y'all do is just still go out and play hard for every single minute that's out there. And so
Yeah.
I'm starting
No
to
lapses.
wonder, man. Yeah.
They have drought, and it's a difference, Rita. You're right. They have droughts,
Yep.
but they don't have lapses. See the distinction? They have droughts, but they don't have lapses. Because sometimes you're just not going to make shots. Okay,
Yep.
it happens. You're not going to make shots. But in those droughts, they're still scrambling. They're still fighting. They're still trying. They're still staying within themselves. They very rarely, and you mentioned his name earlier, this is no pun, but they very rarely play hero ball.
Yeah.
I mean, they go out there and they know exactly who they are, which blows my mind. Once again, it blows my mind. I'm looking at them saying, okay, what they want to do is get the ball to Jimmy Butler. So I know it, the Heat know it, Celtics know it too. But y'all having problems stopping Jimmy Butler. It's
Yep.
but they stick with it. And I guess there's something to be said about that, sticking with it. And before I go on to my next point, I want to acknowledge, I hear you in the balcony. I just got this sixth sense who's out there, and you're shouting out names of championship teams that weren't really about it. So let's go old school. 1960. 1960.
Were you
Pittsburgh
there?
Pirates.
Were you
I
there in
wasn't. No, no, no.
1960? Because I sure was.
No.
I wasn't even going
I
up
wasn't.
yet.
No. I just love ball. I love sports. So
All right, I
1960
got it.
Pittsburgh Pirates. I've heard the stories that the Yankees actually outscored the Pirates something like 3-1, 4-1. It was ridiculous. Like if you look at the total runs scored in the series, the Pirates got rolled, but the Pirates won the World Series in 1960. They weren't the better team. The Yankees were. We go up to the 80s. Baseball. It happens a lot in baseball. Like the Twins, 1987, right? 85, 87, somewhere in there. But then again, that team had Kirby Puckett. So how can you say a team that has Kirby Puckett is a surprise? But they didn't have much else. And when the Twins won it again in 91, I think, that was another thing where you look at them and go, are they really that good? So
I got one more for you. I got one more for
bring
you.
another.
Too.
Bring it on.
One more. Since you took it back to before we were even born, I got
Take
one
it back.
more.
Oh, we going back.
You
We
got,
acknowledge everybody.
I think this is the 1969 Jets and Colts. Remember?
Yes.
Was that Super Bowl III?
Super Bowl III. Yes, it was.
They were
And,
they were 3-score underdogs. And when you look at the team and when you look at Joe Namath, when you look at his Hall of Fame numbers, you're like, oh, okay, this is maybe the Hall of Fame had a different idea of what was Hall of Fame worthy.
Bad.
back then.
You know it's bad. No, Rita, just go ahead and say it's bad. Like, what the hell? Joe, thank you. Thank you for legitimizing, for capturing the spirit of the AFL, but those numbers are not great. But if somebody told me, because I brought this up a while ago to a New Yorker who was a little older and said you had to be there. For Joe Namath, you had to be there to understand it. I said, okay, I will defer and say you had to be there. I wasn't there, so I just look at the numbers, and they don't look so hot. But you look back at that team, you got Joe. And if Joe Namath is your guy, well, look at his numbers. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I think that qualifies. That's a good one. The 04 Pistons, by the way, do not qualify. 2004 Pistons don't qualify because that's a good team. If you look back, you got Chauncey, you got Rip, you got Ben Wallace, you got Rasheed Wallace.
Yeah.
You know, you got Tayshaun Prince on that team. Like they were a pretty good team. If you look at it now, they didn't have a bunch of all NBA players, but they had a bunch of really, really good NBA players. And I would say that the 04 Pistons had more overall talent, coached by Larry Brown, had more overall talent than the 2022-23 Miami Heat. I mean, they just might mess around and win this thing.
Okay.
They might mess around and win it. And Rita, if they go in game 2, and please wake them up if it happens. In game 2, if they go on like a 21-2 run, if you happen to be in Boston Garden, just tap Joe Mazzulla on his shoulder and say, Joe, I don't know if you realize this, Joe. You're the coach. You're allowed. It's amazing. You know what they let you do? Even though you're not playing, they allow you to do this thing with your hand. You can do that. or you can touch your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Just touch your shoulders. Give me 20. Maybe, but that's in the regular season. Maybe you can't get a 20. You got to go T here. You got to go T.
How do we feel about his lack of accountability, though, Holley? Like, before the show came on, we heard the sound clip from Mazzulla, and he was like, oh, when we dominate, they're asking the question, because clearly, like, they lost the game. And he's like, no, we won the game for 3 quarters. Okay, but you allowed 46 points scored on you in that 1/3 quarter, which was nasty business. And you didn't take any accountability of that. And that, to me, I have a problem with that, because you are the coach and it is reflective of you. And so ultimately, that's all nice and dandy that you feel like you won 3 out of 4 quarters. But apparently that 1 quarter was that you were down bad enough that you couldn't regain any type of conscience from that. And I just think you have to acknowledge that. I want to hear somebody take accountability. And I just feel like I didn't get that from him last night.
Okay, Joe Mazzulla has this thing, and they should work with him. They should work with him. And so, first of all, he's 34 years old, youngest coach in the NBA, and he was put into a very difficult position at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Nobody expected Ime Udoka to be out just before. It was like 3 or 4 days before media day. We hear the reports that Ime Udoka is facing a serious discipline, and then serious suspension, and then suspended for the year, which is about to go down. He's about to get fired, essentially. Yeah. They didn't call it a firing, but they parted ways. So he didn't really ask to be in this position. He wasn't ready for this. But they got to work with him on this, Reeta. He really struggles with this, and this is not unusual for somebody who's not used to the attention. You would know, because you've been covering sports for a long time. I've been covering sports for a long time. I know how the game is played. If I ask somebody a question, they're not answering to me, especially in a group setting. They're answering. It's performative. Okay, it's performative. They may be talking to the fan base. They may be talking to the locker room. They may be talking to the general manager, ownership. I don't know. I'm just there trying to get my question answered, and then they take over. But Joe Mazzulla, what he does, it's like when you bring your little brother or little sister along with you, and somebody says something mildly critical, and they want to go. Oh, they want to fight. They want to fight, right? Hey, listen, calm down. Calm down. We can't bring you along. We can't bring you along if you don't know how to act. So Joe Mazzulla, you ask him a question. Hey, Joe. Eric Spoelstra, somebody baited him last night. He took the bait. Somebody asked him last night, Eric Spoelstra, when things go awry for Eric Spoelstra, he calls a timeout. But you can see the wheels turning. Oh, you saying Eric Spoelstra better than me? Oh, for real? Oh, what's up?
Well.
Oh, what's up? What's good then? What's good? You want to go outside? You want to like, come on, Joe. Don't take the bait. He takes the bait all the time, and he misses the big picture. Yes. And so the last thing I'll say on him is he did the same thing in Philadelphia. They lose game 4 of the Sixers series. Remember, that's the one. They have the ball. It's a tie game. It's 19 seconds left. And he's got timeouts. They got the ball. Yeah. No, twice. No, actually two examples. Regulation, scores tied. They got the ball. They call no timeout. They get a good shot from Marcus Smart. Wide open, he misses. Okay, fine. Overtime, they're down by 1. It's 18 seconds left. They got the ball. They got timeouts. They don't get a shot off. And they ask him, Gary Washburn again, asked him after the game, listen, if you could do it again. He's like, no, that was fine. Our execution was fine. Washburn was like, but you didn't get a shot off. It was great execution, though. The next day, he came back and apologized because I think Brad Stevens said to him, Joe, Come on, man. Come on. You ain't fighting with the media. You're not talking. You're talking to our audience, to our fan base. And our fan base wants to understand that you understand that you screwed that one up.
Yep.
So he's got a lot to learn. We'll see. Miami Heat, where's the parade gonna be? Where's the parade?
We already put them in the finals, winning.
Doing the whole thing. Doing the whole thing.
Hey, man.
Jimmy Butler,
Spo might
finals
need
MVP.
to win Coach of the Year, man. Seriously.
This is crazy. But they qualify as the worst champion if they win it. Hey, thank you for watching Brother from Another. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Don't forget you can catch us 3 to 4 weekdays on PeacockTV.com and on Sirius XM Channel 85.